Welcome to the Consummate Athlete Podcast, where we explore what it means to be a well-rounded, happy, goal-crushing athlete. Every week, myself, sports journalist Molly Herford, and cycling coach and kinesiologist Peter Glassford interview experts and chat through all of your training questions. We're excited to have you along for the ride. Hello. Welcome back to the Consummate Athlete Podcast. Peter, how's it going?
It's going well. We're rolling along into spring and a couple events already done here for people around the world, I guess. There was the Traca was the big event in Europe there, the big gravel race of multiple distances. And then locally, we've had some of our first gravel races. So exciting and nervous times for a coach, for sure. And how about you? Are you ready for your upcoming big 100-miler in Ancaster, the Sulphur Springs?
Yeah, I mean, it's always nerve-wracking watching the Paris to Ancaster race because that race, the big gravel race, not even gravel, I don't know what you call Paris to Ancaster. Spring Classic.
Yeah.
Spring Classic Paris to Ancaster happened last weekend. And yeah, it's always a little bit nerve-wracking watching that because everyone always talks about that big hill at the finish, but in Sulphur Springs 100-miler, you go up that big hill 8 times. So definitely chatting with my dear friend Ellen Noble about her race and all of that. You know, she's like, oh my God, that hill at the end. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm real excited to do it a bunch of times. So I would say my race nerves are starting to get a little bit peaked, if you will. So
Okay.
glad we have this topic today all around.
Yeah, so we'll read the question as we get into it, but the episode today is about race nerves and what we can do about that, what they mean. Are they normal, or is this only for the weak people, or do the top people also get nervous? So this is the question and the hopefully some tools and tactics we can give you today. But maybe before we get into that, a quick shout out to our show sponsor, Payable.
Yes, Payable Apps is the easiest, only way actually to take payments within a Google form. So it's just an add-on in Google Forms where in under, I'm going to say 5 minutes to get it set up, you can start taking payments for anything from Girl Scout cookies to donations for your local animal rescue to what we do, which is jersey orders. We use it for our local mountain bike club. It's just honestly the most convenient way to start taking payments without building an entire new website. As someone who has recently built an entire new website, I will say Payable, much easier if you're only selling a couple things.
That's right. And so this is good friends of ours, so real people on the internet, which is important to know and hopefully build some trust that they're people we know and like. And then also basically the main function that people always ask, like, how do you get paid? So the idea is that it's essentially connecting a Google form to something like PayPal or Square or Stripe or whatever you choose. So it's connecting those two accounts really nicely into a really slick checkout that's going to get the money directly to you. So it stays in all your accounts and everything like that, and is quite slick. And we do like it. So with that, we do have a link you can visit if you were curious and maybe want a little bit of a discount.
Yes, payableapps.com/athlete. And it also has all of our favorite templates so you can get started super, super quickly. So we'll include a link to that in the show notes. And as always, thank you so much for sponsoring the podcast.
Cool. So we
okay.
have a question. Do you want to read it or do you want me to read it?
I can read it because my vision is better than yours.
Okay,
and
well,
I'm
that's
sitting
impressive.
across the room. Yeah, I feel like this is kind of like an eye doctor appointment. Peter has this up on his second monitor. There's also a glare, so we'll see.
It's a big monitor.
It's a big monitor. The biggest monitor.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. I'd love to get both of your thoughts on preseason race jitters, anxiety, stress. Not something that everyone struggles with, I'm sure, but it's been a challenge for me these last couple of years. I get myself quite worked up about approaching races and find stress mounting, sleep suffering, mood suffering, etc. when recovery and rest are probably actually at their most critical. Do you guys have any wisdom on this topic? Perhaps you're both lucky enough not to deal with this. I'm an anxious person by nature, so I'm definitely prone to it. Any strategies, self-talk, mantra, cognitive behavioral work you can suggest? Let's just wind this back to you. Perhaps you're both lucky enough to not deal with this. Peter, do you want to give some context for who I am pre-race?
Well, I think we've spoke about this a fair bit, but yeah, Molly always wants to quit and like is in the van, like just saying, oh, why am I doing this? And this is brutal. And those last couple hours, especially, you don't really like tip over in the days before, but it's, yeah, definitely the couple hours where we're waiting, right? We get there on time. Maybe it's, before you go out and do a bit of warm up or whatever, but a lot of your races don't even have much of a warm up. So it's sort of like we got everything pinned, you got your clothes on, and it's sort of just hanging out, reading. We have all these pictures of you sitting in the van, like, eating your breakfast at early morning, like in the darkness, and then reading on your Kindle. And so you cope a little bit by sort of keeping your routine of reading. But is there anything else that you've found useful as you try and get over that hump?
You would think so. I think the reality is, for me, just knowing that there's not going to be a magic formula. There's not going to be a magic mantra, anything that's going to make me not have those feelings on race day. I think I've had those feelings on race day since I started racing.
Yeah.
It varies from race to race, right? Like Mid-South 50K, I don't think I was nearly that bad on the start line. I was a little like, do I really want to do this? But I think I was generally like relatively chill.
It was interesting though, because there we actually set up, and I don't know if you can always do this, but that's something I do too, is like riding to the start, I think actually like eliminates a lot of the like in the car nervousness, because you ran, I biked with you, but you ran like a mile or whatever it was to the race site. And then sort of it was, okay, now you're sort of in the start pen doing your weird stretches and stuff everyone does to copy each other. So I don't know if that sort of like, do you think there was something that maybe that's like a tactic you could use? Maybe we just park further away.
We're not parked further away. I think, yeah, you're right. I think that one helped just because I was moving and we were kind of on a slightly tighter schedule, all that kind of stuff. That's it. Like, I mean, I ran a mile before the 100-miler, like before pretty much any 100-miler, just because I need to do that in order to access the need to utilize the porta potty, if I'm being completely blunt. Right. So I think for me, it really is just, I'm going to have these feelings, knowing going in that I'm going to have these feelings. And I think, as you have reminded me literally every time I've raced, that the second the start gun goes or the whistle blows or whatever, I'm fine.
Now, I will say, I was just listening to on the Science of Sport, they had Josie Perry on,
one of our early favorites.
Yes, who we need to have back, because she actually did a ADHD book just recently, but she has also a couple books that are really good, and she speaks very well to like different frameworks you can use. So I'll link to the Science and Sport podcast, the Real Science and Sport podcast, but then also to our past episode with Josie, and then we'll also do a reach out to Josie and maybe talk towards ADHD, because that's definitely a thing that's on the sort of, is this more common? I guess I don't know if.
Yeah, you hate to say it's a trending.
Well, they sort of debated like, is it more common? But anyhow, we'll save that for the episode.
Well, I think anyone can benefit from some stuff about how to focus your attention when your attention is wandering.
Well, what she was saying is like, we know there's these things that are going to come up in the race. Like during the race, maybe you start getting this like, oh, you suck, and the self-talk. And so then that's where she brings in the mantra, and she does it for her daughter. And she says, I think it's like, do it for her or something like that. Like she wants to show that like you can do hard things. And even if you're not going to win, you can finish things. So that's something that she has in place and ready and has practiced. And then during a marathon or whatever she's doing, or a 5K or 10K, it doesn't matter the distance, then you bring out that mantra at that time. So for you, this is actually happening before the race, is this hump where you need to say, it's going to come over this. And then when I start feeling that like I shouldn't be here, I don't belong, I didn't prepare, I don't want the...
Oh, it's not those, like, let's be clear. My pre-race nerves are not like I didn't prepare. I know I prepared. It's not even I don't belong here. It's more, what am I doing? I would much rather be at home on the couch with the dog. Because as we've said on this podcast before, I'm inherently like not an athlete. Like I am a lazy bookworm who would much rather be reading. And start lines for some reason bring that out of me, where I'm just like, what the heck am I? I don't like doing this. What am I? This is crazy. Why would I put myself through this? I could just be home snuggling with the dog. Mm-hmm. So I have a very weird pre-race.
Well, I don't know if that is. I think that's like you want to be in a safe zone or like nesting rather than like stepping up to the edge of a precipice that you can't really come back from, right? Which is the start line. It is the like waiting for the thing to go, and there's always uncertainty. Running's not quite so bad as like a mountain bike race, as far as like you don't know if you're going to get just knocked over instantly or have a bad start.
I genuinely think that's why I'm in the sport that I'm currently in, is because compared to triathlon, where I mean, my pre-race nerves for triathlon were, I would say, even higher, because you have to jump into water with a bunch of strangers who are going to be kicking you in the head. Mm-hmm. Bikes, yeah, a little scarier, because yeah, you could get knocked over in the first 100 meters, but like 100-mile running race, your first 100 yards or whatever doesn't really matter. Your first 100K barely matters.
Right. And so I think as we get into this, we'll talk about a few of the resources we have, free resources. You can Google that, Consummate Athlete free tools, I think, and then you'll see all of them.
Freebies, but
there's several there, but they're all sort of around this. Actually, as I was reading the different ones, like a lot of them are checklists, a lot of them are get ready for your cyclocross weekend, and then we have a race day planner and checklist, which really does get at this idea of like checking off what you need, the things you're going to forget, what are the mantras. It does have a lot of these elements.
Yeah, I mean, I think like if you have the nerves, that's okay, as long as you can basically rationally talk to yourself and be like, but am I actually prepared? Mm-hmm. And if you're not, I was talking to a sports psych about this recently, and I forget who it was. Apologies to whoever it was that said this. You can also then, you should be keeping that as information for next time. Like, well, okay, I wasn't. Dr. Lorenda Bucher out of Kaiser University in Florida. Use the negative talk, the nerves and stuff. Like, remember what you said then, because usually that's something you can try to troubleshoot for next time. If it is like, I'm not prepared, I like don't have the right gear, I didn't do the right training, like, you know, I didn't sleep correct, like all of those things, keep them in mind, because later you can come back and troubleshoot them for next time.
Sure. Yeah. And I think that's even these forms that we're going to talk about today. We have one that we use with our coached athletes that we're not going to share. That's for coached athletes.
Super top secret.
We'll talk a bit towards, but I do think that this race day planner we were looking at, and it's largely, I always say that we sort of like every year we recreate the exact same document or these like different things over and over again. They sort of have similar concepts in them. Like, what is the thing? What are you trying to do? What are the steps? What's the schedule? What are the mantras? How are you going to fuel it? These sort of things are in both of these documents. But I thought before we get too far into this, the important thing is that this person says, like, not something that everyone struggle with, I'm sure.
Nope. Everyone struggles with it.
Pretty much everyone, because the dilemma is if you're not excited, if you're not what they say aroused, actually is what they call it.
Ow.
This is the inverted U that I love, and athletes I coach know that I love overusing the inverted U to describe everything. But with arousal or excitement or nerves, whatever we want to call these things, if you're sleepy, if you didn't come out of your little, like, you know, holding the dog and reading your book and nibbling on your morning treat and Mountain Dew, you know, in your safe space, if you just sat there, you're not in aggressive mode to do a race, especially for something like a cyclocross race or a mountain bike race that's going to start really aggressively. If you come into that passive, you're done. 100 miler, you could probably actually be half asleep and just roll it. That probably isn't actually a bad pacing strategy.
Well, I think that depends whether or not you're trying to win it or complete it.
But that's it. Like, I think you need to be alert and probably a little warm, because you do, like, for you are chasing a time. If you waste time early, like, it's not that you have to be sprinting, but you can't be like dawdling around, because that's extra effort you're going to have to put in at 10 o'clock at night if we do everything well. So I think just normalizing that it is normal, but that what we actually need to do is find your optimal arousal. It's the top of this inverted U. This is think about a rainbow, right? It's just a rainbow. You want to be at the top of the rainbow. That's the optimal performance, because we've got you that much aroused, basically. And this is excited. Let's say excited rather than aroused. And so when you're thinking that, we used with some of the younger women often like this, where it's sort of, we say like, I'm not nervous, I'm excited. And it's sort of like they're really saying we are super friggin' nervous, but it's sort of like a shorthand like joke that sort of like normalizes it. And I'm just like really excited right now.
Super excited.
And so that's something that we can sort of just talk about it. And one of the best ways to normalize or take away from some of these is just know, you're not weird, you're not abnormal. And in fact, we want some excitement for the start, and especially as the start gets more aggressive, and we need to find that optimal. So then your warm up, your pre-performance routine is, yes, to get your muscles warm and that first intensity effort, your warm up sprints or openers, but it's also thinking like what environment, music, maybe you're like Molly and you need to read to like take away some nerves and like keep from going too much, like down the right side of that rainbow.
Although I have found like I can't read a regular book. I literally just reread a few parts of Born to Run by Chris McDougall.
Okay, I thought you were going to make like an arousal joke and you were reading like some sort of romance novel. And
I mean, hey, if it works for you, it works for you. But that's a weird way to go to the start line is all I'm saying.
So, so that would be the idea, is just like finding your, what they call optimal arousal. And this is how do we get you there? So that is part of your warm up. And this is what we can be practicing in your key workouts, especially for the week, whatever. So when Molly's going out for her Saturday run, she could be sort of rehearsing this a little bit, both the meal timing. Is there some warm up efforts? How does she ease into it? What is the equipment she's wearing? And yeah, like I think that like music is probably when you see a lot of athletes use, where they have their like hype up, or for some athletes, they might not be heavy metal people. Like they might be like more of a like chilling, because
smooth jazz.
Because someone who gets too excited is going to be ways to pull themselves back. So those people often maybe don't need to be around a lot of other people. So we need to try and control that environment if we can. These are you see the racers who stare at the back of the tent and put headphones on and don't look at other people, because they're trying not to get like too stimulated, if you will. Right. And that's the idea of this sort of like pre-performance routine. Isn't just like, what intervals do I do in my warm up? It's how do I arrive at the start line at the optimal, I'm going to keep saying arousal just because that's what it's called. But I sort of laugh every time, and you should know that.
Everyone should know that. Okay, so I will actually say, though, I think people need to try different things for this, because it's funny. I'm a super introvert. You see me in public. I'm not the most extroverted human on the planet here. Mm-hmm. Pre-race, though, I actually do better if I start kind of chatting with people and like having conversations and like laughing and joking on the start line. I think like you've seen me do it.
Yep.
That tends to be the best way I can start, which is counter to who I am as a person.
I think it makes sense though, because it's pulling you, but it's also distracting you from inside your head. So people who overthink stuff, that could be true. And you should try that. I know I found that late in my career, that I was like, I used to do like go off and like do this big fancy warm up on my own, and then find out that like, yeah, I just like overthought the whole thing. And then the races, I just sort of like whatever, just like rode with someone and chatted with them. I wasn't thinking so much. And then I knew how to do it, because like you say, I had done all the work. I knew how to start a bike race and how to do a hard interval. And so it was sort of just like, oh, then here we go. I guess we're going to start in 15 seconds, and then away you go. And so it sort of just tricks yourself into doing that. So I think that's something that people can try, is just chatting with people around them. I think that's when you see people doing that on the start line, sometimes you're like, oh, they're trying to screw with everyone, but it's probably like, no, that's how they're trying to like just moderate or control their nerves.
And possibly try to screw with everyone.
Well,
hey.
What's that tire pressure you're running there? That's pretty high.
Ooh, you got to start doing...
Is that how you tie your shoes usually? Okay.
The thing our dear friend used to do, the two moves, the like literally checking someone else's tire pressure, the like pushing on their tire and just kind of like, or the hand your bike to the guy next to you so you can take off your jacket or pants or anything. Don't do that. It's obnoxious, but it's a hilarious move. So all that to say, you do need to kind of experiment to figure out what works for you to hit that optimal arousal, because you might think that it is the like headphones and staring into space and like being in a quiet corner because you are kind of like hyped up. But it turns out doing that actually gets you even deeper in your head. Mm-hmm. For some people, it might work perfectly. That might be the exact thing to do. But for some people, that actually can be almost more terrifying. And what you do need to do is just kind of be chatting with people and relaxing and almost pretending it's a group ride.
Yeah. And I think it's just know that it's common. Now, this is certainly something you could consult with a mental performance consultant. This would be like one of the most common things that they probably deal with is helping people control nerves.
Like, this is the most gateway to actually going to a therapist, as you go for your race nerves.
And I know the one thing that we talked about the Brave Athlete, I think last week, it's a great book. And one of the things that I always remember from that is they had like the alter ego.
Yeah.
And I believe it was just like something like a tougher person. Like a lot of us don't see ourselves, at least, as that like A-type, or not A-type, but like the athlete, like the winner, like whatever you think, like the champ, I don't know, like one of the boxers or something like that, right? Like that's not how most of us see ourselves. There's people that see themselves that way and can put on that face, like I am going to win, I am the champion. Often that's built from years of winning races that you can then put on that face, even if it's not really who you are in day-to-day life. But you can also build that alter ego. And so I think actually in Brave Athlete, the one she creates is like sort of like, isn't it like, I don't know, it was some tough lady like Fanny, whatever, or something.
Yeah, it's very Scottish.
Yeah, something like that. And so that's just like, there's actually a name there for the alter ego and the person that's going to like show up at the start line. And so for some people, I know I've had a few athletes over the year that's become like this different sort of like alter ego for them. They don't have to be the person that goes to work or the mother or the father or the whatever. It's the person who's going to show up and be the world champion of the local race series or whatever it is they're participating at, the tough person or the confident person, right? And so it's not necessarily you who's got that, but this alter ego. So that's something, if you like that, the Brave Athlete book is a great one to sort of read about that concept.
Yeah, actually, so it's funny. One of the passages I've highlighted in Born to Run is probably like the perfect example of this. So it's talking about Anne Transom, the woman who
had the Leadville record until
a year ago had the Leadville record. So she had it for like almost 30 years, over 30 years.
Yeah. And Born to Run is just a great, like,
oh my God.
I always call it like it's not a fictional book, but it's like almost a fictional,
like
it reads like a great story. So even if you're not a runner and don't read a lot of like even sports books, like it actually just reads great. And I mean, I think it started that whole barefoot running craze, for better or worse. And Chris McDougall is just a great person and writer. So anyhow, let's hear this.
Yeah. So he's talking about Anne Transom. Watching Anne bolt at the start of a race was like watching a mild-mannered reporter yank off his glasses and sling on a crimson cape. Her chin came up, her hands curled into fists, her hair flowed around her face like a jet stream, the bangs blowing back to reveal glinting brown cougar eyes. In street clothes, Anne is a pinch over 5 feet. In running shorts, she reconfigures to Brazilian model proportions, all lean legs and ballerina straight back and sun-brown belly hard enough to break with a bat. Okay, so the last part's a little weird. However, there's a reason I have that highlighted, and it's because like it's basically speaking to that start line alter ego. Like the second the gun goes off, you go from being, you know, the mild-mannered I think I love it because it is like obviously referring to Superman, but as a journalist, I very much like the going from being a mild-mannered reporter to this person who's going to go terrible.
Yeah, and it's probably something, I don't know if it's more like in general, like you're going to see women doing that, but I think it's something that I know I've coached younger women because they're very fast, but they are always positioned in a way in a race where they're going to have to be coming through often larger, perhaps older men who are less willing to move out of the way. And if you just have a little mousy voice and sort of go like, oh, get by, like they're not going to move. They might not even hear you. So we sort of worked on, and some of them would pick up these, like, I think, Hannah would be like, she actually did have an alter ego name and I can't remember what it was, but it'd be like, Bubba or something, and she'd just be like, hey, get out of the way.
Nice. I love it.
And she said it, I think it worked well. So in any case, that's like, sometimes we have to do that just to like, have a tactic during the race to get through a problem we have. We have these people in the way and we need to get around, right?
Well, yeah, we've had to work on that with me for the past how many years, because ultras, you just kind of start there's no start line like grid or anything. You just get started.
So we have to move you up, but you probably pass hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people over that 100-miler.
Well, usually when it's looped courses, yes. But I think like moving to the front was like a huge thing for me, and it's why every pre-race picture of me looks really weird, because I'm always the shortest one on the start line. Yeah. But yeah, so finding the alter ego, I think, is a good one. Leaning into nerves, very important. I think the other thing that's actually been like a huge unlock for me when I can make it happen, and it usually starts in the race rather than before the race, is like the reminder that all of us are doing this because it's fun. Even if you're a pro, even if you're getting paid to do it, you're doing it because it's fun, because you love it. And more so for a master's athlete or a recreational amateur or whatever you want to call any of us. We paid to be here. So I think that's what's helped me kind of calm down at the start lines a little bit, is like being like, wait, I paid money to do this. I should probably have a good time.
Well, and it sort of this question came about when we were ahead of Sea Otter, and the TR memes, which Trainer Road and I probably don't get along or agree on a lot of things. Oh, we get along. I don't know if we even have to even coexist really, but their meme account is really good and spot on. I don't even know if it's theirs. I don't really know how it all works or understand memes in general, but they had this one picture that...
Oh my God, you're going to describe a meme. Fantastic. We're ancient.
And it was essentially just what you just said. It was this like person's neck and it had like thorns on it. And it said like me before a race that I signed up to do for fun in my free time or something like that.
That I paid a lot of money to do in my free time.
Yeah.
And so the other reframe I do is just like, well, okay, it's Saturday. I'm about to run 100 miles or ride 100 miles, whatever. Like, what on earth would I rather be doing? Like, sure, home on the couch snuggling with my dog. Okay, maybe. But like, do I want to go home and like deep clean the house? Like, do I want to go back to work and like get a couple more articles written? No, like I'm going to go play in the woods for a bunch of hours.
And I think there's a few things there. Like, I think I had a couple of like sort of bullets that probably fit here, where we need to remember that for you can say now you actually have experience and lots of great experiences and positive outcomes where you can sort of get yourself over that hump because you can say, well, I really liked having all these articles I could write afterwards or the media attention afterwards. I don't know if that's a big thing for you, but everyone likes, the podium and the big plaques and you got actually like interviewed for stuff. And so that's sort of fun too. So you can sort of say like, well, those extrinsic things are some sort of motivation. Like I think you're very intrinsically motivated. You always say like you would just keep training without them, but those extrinsic benefits can pull. So anyone who has had success and whatever success is for them can start using those to pull themselves over the cliff of nerves and the race start or wherever the nerves come in. So when we are doing things for the first time, though, we don't necessarily have that and we don't really know what's going to happen. And so we want to frame this not as a threat, but as a challenge. Can I do this? Can I make it through? Can I get to the start line? Right? And this is a challenge that you can take on. It's not a threat. No one cares. Like at any level, no one really cares how you do. Everyone will forget. Nothing lasts for more than 10 seconds. Like it's just, that's the nature. Your family really just wants you to have fun and be a happy person. So just, there is no threat to your ego or anything like that. Even if you think so, like most people just are like, oh, you did great. You were at a race. And if you said, yeah, it went good, they just, okay. But we build it up so much in our heads that this is the expression of all that we are as a human. And that just, even at the highest levels, isn't really true. And so coming to terms with that, this idea of like, it's a challenge, not a threat. And then the other thing that sort of really relates to this idea is like, until you've done a bunch of races, you don't know. So you need to just focus on completing. There is no competing. You should get in there and race and compete, but you don't have a ton of goals that like you are going to be the ultimate champion of this thing until you do it a little bit. It would be weird. It does happen that people come in and are immediately successful, but a lot of times we have to do something a bunch before we can be good at it. So a lot of times these nerves are this like buildup that like we're going to embarrass ourselves. And it's like, well, have you ever done this before? It's like, no, never. Yeah, never been to a bike race before, but I'm nervous, that I need to win or something. And so just taking it down, like you just need to get to the start line and then you need to finish, like if you can, right? Like just do the best you can. It's all going to be good experience. And then we have information that we can build on the next time.
Love it. But I think all of this also goes into having this pre-event planning and preparation in place. And again, that's why we have this freebie about your race day checklist, your race day planner. Our dear friend Tom Hopper, mechanic to many, many very fast people, once said in cyclocross, luck favors the prepared. And I think that's probably the statement that has changed how I approach races more than anything else I've ever heard. Mm-hmm. It's a lot easier to be on the start line and be dealing with your nerves if you know that you have done everything possible to be prepared for the race. I think if you're on the start line and you're like, ooh, what am I going to do if it rains? If like my gut goes, if, like, oh, am I wearing the wrong thing? I think I'm wearing the wrong thing. If you're going in with any of those feelings, then yeah, the race is going to be harder. Your nerves are going to be higher. like because you're not as prepared as you maybe could be. And I think this is where in your schedule the couple weeks before the race, you actually really do need to carve out a couple hours, even, especially like the less times you've raced or less times you've done this type of race, the more time you need to carve out to plan it, or the higher your expectations for the race, right? Like if I want to win the race, I'm thinking this coming weekend here, I need to sit down for a couple hours and plan out exactly what my laps look like, what's in my pack, what are you doing? And like sit down with you and go through what's your thing. And this is a race that we've done before.
Well, and that's, I think, Keegan Swenson or someone like that, who's the best, one of the best in the gravel racing. Like, I think he's known as just like, he does so much equipment testing and equipment prep, and like his feed zones are all dialed, and he's open to try. I saw Alexi Vermeulen, who comes from the road, was actually showing him for, I think it was Levi's, like the biggest road race in America, I guess now, how to take like a satchel. So it wasn't even like those are two competitors, very close competitors. And he was actually open to taking, like we're going to have to take feed bags, I guess, in this race. And I haven't really done and he just took on that advice and I don't think he liked it very much, which is understandable as someone who's been taken out by a feed bag.
I was going to say, not that we're talking about it or anything, but,
but the idea being that like, what is going to be required? Can I practice it? Can I prepare it? What are the contingencies? Like if it rains, what will I do? What do I have? My little holy crap, I call it the holy SHIT bag, and we just always have that. And it's like, these are the clothes for after, and the raincoat for before, and the all the clothes I might possibly need, including like the big mitts and stuff, because the race could be really cold or really rainy or something like that. And so that way I'm not nervous about that because I have a plan. I've thought through it. And then vice versa, if it's hot, or if I have a flat, or if I have a crash, or if I have and then you're just sort of thinking through it. And that way these decisions, you sort of have the mental pathway already established, that there isn't this freeze of like, I don't know what to do, and then panic and throw your bike down the thing, or like cry a bunch before the race because you don't, it's raining. Well, we can't control that, but we can control that we have the equipment. Maybe we've ridden in the rain instead of going on our trainer. We've done a lot of this stuff in preparation.
Yeah, so that's what our checklist really does. It goes through what exactly you're wearing. We actually have like a little grid that we've made up of what to
help
wear
guide.
and which temperatures. And everyone's going to be slightly different, right? Like at 45 degrees, some people might need gloves. Other people might really hate wearing gloves as soon as it gets over freezing. But I think it's a good starting point. So that's in there. And this is one that I think everyone should make for themselves, basically. Like take what we have and add your own, like what do you need? What do you want for it? Same with, we have a bike prep list in there. So the things you should be checking on your bike beforehand. This is definitely, you're one of the better people I've ever seen at this. For someone who doesn't have a pro mechanic who's with them at every race, you're very good at making sure that your bike is as dialed in as humanly possible.
Which doesn't always mean like it's sort of like fundamentals. Like I wouldn't say any mechanic I've ever worked with says that I like keep my bike in fantastic shape, but there's
you're a little hard on your
bike. But yes, I mean I ride a lot, but it's sort of like bolt check is like a common one. Like you just don't want stuff to fall off. And I've made the mistake many times over the last 25 or 30 years of stuff falling off in a race. So do I always check every single bolt that is snug? For sure I do. Because I've made the mistake. So the thing is, this is that experience. Like if you haven't done a bunch of it, then it's okay to be nervous or not know. But then we need to keep iterating and keep improving over time and trying to learn. And that's where something like this race day planner that is a freebie available on consummateathlete.com is going to sort of fast track you, where it's like, these are the clothes we would recommend. You're going to be different, but it's going to get you in the ballpark of what you need. And at least you have them. Like a lot of people, someone's going to one of the big US gravel races, we'll just keep it non-specific, and they hadn't packed anything for rain. They just assumed it was going to be hot because that's what you see in the race a lot of times. But it also,
for all those years that it rains,
probably 1 out of 3 years is like very rainy and muddy. And I'm like, well, where is that holy SHIT bag? We need that there, and like some other stuff for mud as well, right? Have we thought through tires and this sort of thing? Because if you don't, then it's going to be a pretty nervous couple days as we watch the forecast, and it's going to be rainy, right? But the person who's got the tires knows what it's like to ride in the rain and has whatever clothing options they might need. They're probably not super psyched on it, but pick your poison between rain and heat, I guess. So yeah, did you want to continue through here? Just so in this freebie we have, I'll just go through quick. Yeah.
Perfect.
So like a packing list which is clothing and kit. We have our bike prep sort of reminders, things you might need. We have that clothing matrix, which is a great little, we have a post on that too, but it's embedded in this PDF. We have some details about race day nutrition, thinking through that, both post-race and pre-race as well, because sometimes we forget that we have to hang around the venue perhaps for days. And so we need to fuel ourselves well, both for on the front end, but also the recovery afterwards, because we do want to get back training soon thereafter. We don't want to get sick with any of this big stress from the race and then the travel home. And then I think the real like key thing that we're talking about here is the last page in this free document available on consummateathlete.com.
Good job, dear.
Is the race day planner. And so it sort of goes through, it's got some dates, the races, the schedule for the day, which I think I used to do this all the time, and I still do it a bit mentally and sometimes more specifically if it's like a newer race to me or something I'm not as familiar with or is more complex. But just like when I'm waking up, what are the things we're going to do, like 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m., like eating what meal, as specific as we can be. When are we traveling to the venue? When does the warm-up start? When is the staging start? When does the race start? And then sort of...
Oh man, remember 2 years ago we got so burned on this because you were so used to a race time that you were like convinced that the race time...
It was like 1 and then it was like 12:15 was the start. So yeah, we like jumped out of the car and I just like went straight to the line.
So you've got to double check. Even if you've been at the race before, make sure that you've like read the race Bible or like checked the website schedule, like before, as you're filling out the race day planner. I cannot stress enough how important it is to not do this from memory.
Right.
Do it from the race.
Because they do change.
Website.
They do change. I saw even, I think the World Cup actually, maybe they were changing stuff even the days before. So like stuff evolves, and that can be because of weather or just scheduling or whatever.
Well, imagine if in 2013 Mariana Voss had not read the race updates for cyclocross world championships in Louisville, Kentucky, and didn't show up to the race on Saturday when all of the race days got compressed into one because of the flooding.
They moved it a day ahead.
Yeah, world championships. So if world championships can move a day 12 hours prior to the race,
anything's possible.
Your race could change.
To finish this off, then there's sort of like the fueling plan for during the race. And that's, as this carb revolution is here, like this is something I'm pushing athletes on more to like pre-plan out the math, especially for endurance races, but even our XC and these races, like what is the like pre, during, post, and then did you do it? Because often the answer is no. And then that's a training thing that we can then work on in training. And then we have reminders and mantras. And those are those positive self-talks thing. I often say that mine's sort of like what's next is what I will often use. But I also, in the last couple races, like I'm not great in the last like moves of the race, the last hill, like my body just shuts down. And this is probably something I should consult with someone like Josie Perry or Aaron Ayala about, because I do think a lot of it is mental. But sometimes it is like pacing and fueling and whatever. So at Sea Otter, I did a better job, but I was ready because I knew that like that last hill is just going to be hard no matter what. But also that's like my weak point. Like I know I'm going to get to the finish, but I think my body's just like, how much work do you really want to do? Do you really want to empty it? You've got so far. So the thing with self-talk is they say like if you say your name and you say it out loud, and it was just me, of course, because I know that hill is always like you're alone in the middle of a valley in Northern California, and apparently there is no other race people around. So I just was like yelling at myself and saying my name out loud, like, Peter, you can do this, go. And so I found it was helpful. I wouldn't say I did a fantastic job, but I got up the hill. So that's just something that I had in place to try, and I tried it. And I think it was fairly successful. So that would be the things to sort of like record with these mantras, is to say like, what am I going to say? And for this nervous person, it might be more things that they're saying ahead of it. Like, I wanted to do this. I chose to do this. This is for fun.
For fun. It's fun.
Right? Like reminding yourselves of those things, and just the like stakes are maybe not as high as you think. Or what are you going to do when you're like there and like really shaking and nervous? Like, you know, what can we do to sort of mitigate that a little bit?
whenever we think about the stakes, I always think of the Tour de Pharmacy trailer.
Right.
Fantastic trailer, terrible movie.
Yeah. Trailers just really, if you look like an extended trailer on YouTube is probably, I'll try and find one for you. It'll be in the show notes.
Yeah. There's a moment where Jeff Goldblum is talking and he's like talking about bike racing. He's like, the stakes were medium. And that's what I think about every damn time that I race.
Yeah.
The stakes are medium.
Making fun of bike racing being like, it's just
literally hundreds of dollars on the line.
And it's sort of making fun of the Lance Armstrong era and so forth. But in any case, we will try and find that trailer for you for some humor.
Oh God, that's 10 years old now. I'm now remembering that I wrote about it in 2014 in California. I remember the first time I watched it.
Oh.
Yeah, we're old is really the TLDR on that. Okay, so all of this stuff, very important. Even more important is what you alluded to, looking back at this plan. There's a reason we write this planner out. It's not just for race day. It's so that way after the race, you can look back and you can say, oh, I didn't get there early enough. Okay, make a note that next time I could actually use another 30 minutes at the venue. And okay, you had a good rock garden example. So let's go into that one.
Yeah. So, I mean, we this could be written out. I've seen people do phone notes as a elder millennial. I don't really like that. And paper journals are more like how I would have done this. And I had a paper journal through my professional career, if we can call it that, where it was like every race, like I could go back to like Tremblant, like Canada Cup for the year or 2 or 3 years before and see like, how did I mess that one up? What were the mistakes? Like tires or whatever, right? And I don't know that I ever got that one super correct, but it would be like, oh, like you didn't do a good job. Like you weren't even checking your tire pressure with like a digital gauge and then you crashed all over the place. Or you ran small tires again and got beat by people with knobby tires because it was always really muddy and then like just it didn't work out. So these things that we can learn over time about an event. And again, this is where experience builds over years and why, especially in the like longer distance stuff where experience is like one of the biggest predictors is like, has someone done this before? Like 100-miler? Has someone done this 100-miler before? And then those are like predictors, right? Like it's not really rocket science, but it's sort of like, yeah, the person that won last year is probably who would be a good person to bet on this year. And anyone who's done a 100-miler is going to be more likely to succeed in another 100-miler than someone who's never run further than 10 miles. And those people exist too who are starting the race. So experience is important. So we want to build on that. And so you said rock garden. So if I get to the race site and I'm like sort of doing this maybe the night before I pre-rode and then I'm reviewing this document, maybe I've started the document in my journal, and then we say, oh, there's a rock garden and I can't ride it and I'm super stressed. It's like, A, what are you going to do during the race? I'm going to dismount and I'm going to run through the rock garden and just not stress about it. That's a great strategy. We don't want to go for like a 1 out of 10 attempt at a rock garden and break our collarbone or something. So we don't stress about it and burn extra energy. We dismount, we run over. And now if you say immediately to me that I don't know how to dismount and I'm really slow at dismounting and mounting, well, that's going on the practice list for next week. But then also this rock garden thing is something that then we can develop. Have you not been doing rock gardens? Are you nervous around rocks because you don't have rocks at home? Can you only do the specific line on the exact rock garden in your local trails? And now when we have to go to a variable, adaptable situation under stress, under exertion with people watching, is there something there? Is it nerves? Is it just the variability of the rock gardens? Is there like a fundamental, we could say fundamental skill or something that like you just aren't great at? And then this is something that then your whole next training block could incorporate. And again, this is moving past training just as like your smart trainer, super specific intervals that are exactly right for you, which is just a myth, to something that we could say more holistic or a more rich training environment that's incorporating the psychology, all the ALs, right? All our ALs, we'll say of Consummate Athlete, where we're thinking tactical and technical, mechanical, right? Are you not going through the rock garden well because your suspension is like set up like a pogo stick or something, right? Like these would be things that then we can start doing, but we don't solve those during the race. That's stuff that then we take away from the race when we do a post-race reflection.
Yeah. And I remember Haley Smith said this just a few years back. She actually keeps a confidence journal as well for post-race, where it is like the things that she felt like went well or that she did right. So I think if you're the kind of person who would see Peter's Tremblant list of how he sucks and be like, oh, I'm going to suck at this race again, probably a good idea to also include a few positives. It depends on who you are. I think some people can totally get away with just reminders, reflections, things I need to work on for next time. But definitely, if something comes to mind that you did well, or if you just know that, like, if you aren't cataloging the things that went well, they're going to completely fall out of your head and you're never going to remember them. And seeing just why you suck is going to continually make you feel worse. Then I think it's really important to make sure you reflect on the positives of the race as well as the things to work on for next time.
And I don't know about the person asking this question, but like if someone's an anxious person by nature, this is what they call themselves. And they're sort of they're saying cognitive behavioral therapy, like, so there's like, they're familiar. So there could be something in there where like that negative self-talk, or like finding we call kinesiopathic if we're looking at like the movement, like you move poorly, your knees, like you're broken, your feet are broken, but trying to have like a positive outlook. This is like Greg Lehman's movement optimism. But I love that. I think actually Haley, I don't know if Haley works with the one psychologist, and I think Sherry J. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if they have any association, but I think Sherry J has she would be someone to have on the podcast too, actually. Like confidence, like every day, sort of just like something that went well and like proof of your success. And so that's a great thing too, to say like pull out some highlights. And I know I've seen that where like you pull out 2 highlights and then maybe something to improve as well, which maybe for some type A's might sound a little corny or like, yeah, just tell me the wrong thing. But I think that is worth like keeping the things that are working in the mix might be the way to frame that for a type A. But yeah, I think that's a great thought as well.
Well, definitely flag the stuff that worked well, right? If like suddenly you didn't have any gut issues during the race and you've always had gut issues, cool. What did you do that led to the lack of gut issues? Like really try to figure out why what went well. So I think it's not just giving yourself a pat on the back or giving yourself your flowers. You're actually trying to figure out what worked and why did it work and how do I do that again?
Yeah, I think that's great. And I mean, sort of had these 2 endurance races that we did while we were away. And that was, we had talked probably too much about like my breakfast was too complex. We'll say we won't rehash that. And that I think was part of some of the digestive stuff I had during the race, alongside maybe pacing, just like period. So those things, I sort of then put those into like A, change the breakfast, easy enough. And then B, in the race pacing and having like a bit more hard limits for me to go back to. And like a lot of it was still feeling, but yeah, just like early in the race, like making a decision not to like chase ridiculously hard to pull back the guy in first because I wanted my best race, the steadiest race. And that was the thing, right? So taking that, like, it wasn't that I sucked or was like not fit. It was just like I didn't have the correct pacing strategy to have my best day at the first one, and then corrected that at the second one.
Love it. Okay. And then do you want to just kind of wrap up with the quick reminder that we do have this top secret performance plan? It's actually not that top secret, but sometimes it helps to actually talk all of this stuff out with a coach, with someone who understands racing and all of the race day nerves and everything that goes with it. So while this, our pre-event performance plan is Consummate Athlete coaching clients only, you also do consults. So if someone is just signed up for a race, starting to get a little bit stressed about it, we will include links in the show notes where people can book in to potentially talk through race day or race week and their plans for it.
Yeah, and this is very tactical, right? Like just preparing beforehand, but also could it pull in this, I guess, psychological as well, where we're talking through the steps and the checklists and what do we know about the event. So I've done this on phone consults in the last couple of weeks with Unbound coming up, some of the stage races, like there's Moab Rocks going on, I think right now. And then BCBR is actually in May as well this year. So some of these events are coming. And so just talking through the logistics of the event. Also for Sulphur Springs, we have a couple other people sort of going through that. So I've had calls already, just sort of like, what is the plan with the nutrition? When are you getting there? What is the pacing plan? How are you carrying the fuel? And just going through it. And I think a lot of times that is like, whether you're talking to a coach or just talking to a friend, someone who's done the race, like, what do you think of this? Like, am I off base, or is there anything you would like check or bring extra? What are like the blind spots? I do think that like the talking about it and normalizing that, like, yeah, it's a big undertaking. You're going to be a little excited and nervous for this. Makes sense. And then, yeah, just like trying to think, knowing yourself of like, where do these nerves and excitement, where do they get you? and how can you sort of be ready and what can you try in this next race. And then that is really the cool thing about bike racing or run racing, is that we're getting in there and we're seeing like, how do we do, where can we improve, where can we have success by doing the thing the next time, right? Like we struggled with this last time. Can we do better next time? The next time you get through that rock garden, or like, oh, I finally make it up the last hill with some oomph. The times I've won a bike race in those final moments have been like really cool and like really rewarding, right? But they don't come often and they don't come easy.
Yeah, absolutely. This is just occurring. I wish we were better at like filming things, because I do feel like I could have such a good day, like my race day, if you just film me from like the minute I wake up being like, I don't want to do this, what am I doing here, to like the finish. I think it would actually be like the perfect depiction of race day nerves being just a moment in time. And
you don't think, I thought you did post like at least like pictures of like you sitting in the van being nervous and then like finally
I don't know that we actually have a picture of me, like actually. I think we have maybe a faked picture of me, but I would
for Killarney we definitely have one of you in the van. Yeah,
Killarney's weird though, because that was like the FKT I tried, and that is different because you're not really starting at a specific time. We knew we wanted to start at like sunrise-ish, but it's not like you have to be on a start line. It's a little more,
I suppose. I mean, you got daylight. There's a bit of a start line.
You are racing something, yes, but
okay. So yeah, I guess wrap this up as you were trying to do. Definitely, this is a great phone consult. If you are someone who's looking for coaching, we do have 1 or 2 spots here opening up, sort of looking towards later summer or into the fall cyclocross and marathon type season. And we'd love to work with you. But otherwise, we will link to this race day planner and checklist. Along with the many other people and other episodes, we also discussed Josie Perry, Born to Run, Brave Athlete, and of course Tour de Pharmacy. I took Tour de France. That's not what we're talking about.
No, but that's basically what they're talking about.
Okay. Excellent.
All right. With that, we will wrap up. Happy racing to anyone who's listening to this in the week before their race. Good luck. All right. We'll wrap up there. Happy training, and we will see you next week. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Consummate Athlete Podcast. If you want to hear more training, racing, and endurance sport advice, make sure you subscribe to the podcast and leave us a rating and review. You can also subscribe to our newsletter at consummateathlete.com for a weekly dose of inspiration and advice straight to your inbox.